I'm Dylan, and today we're going to talk about how to establish good water flow when you have a cover that's a little bit too tight. Our sensors, as you can see, have a black sensor cover mated to our sensor end, and right in between those two parts is a little rubber gasket. Now, this gasket is great for sealing the cover to our sensor end. However, it does give us a little bit of room to have this cover be put on too tight. Why that's a problem is because we have a magnetically coupled impeller in there that spins, drawing water in through the cover and then out through the ejection port here. So sometimes you will have a bound cover and a bound impeller right off the start. Sometimes as it starts to dry, especially if it's been in storage for a little while, you might have to loosen these two Phillips head screws here, maybe a quarter turn or more, to get the impeller to start spinning freely. So today I'm going to kind of show you what that sounds like and how to get the correct screw torque and motor function. So over here I have one of our display faceplates to supply power to our sensor. So the first thing I'm going to do is just plug in the sensor here. And then go ahead and listen to hear what this sounds like. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, right? That's because our impeller is not spinning at all. And this is not how our sensor should sound when it's running dry. So what I'm going to do, as you can hear, it's just starting to get going a little bit, but it sounds like that motor's struggling a little bit. So what we can do to kind of free up that impeller is just loosen the cover a little bit. And you can start to hear the RPMs increase as I do that. And you want to be able to hear the sensor and motor oscillating direction, and that's telling us that we have approximately the right cover torque. So we're still getting a little bit of contact, so I'm going to loosen it up a little bit until we can hear that spinning pretty freely. That is what one of our sensors should sound like after establishing the correct cover tightness. Is a pretty constant frequency of motor spin without too much interference between the impeller and the cover itself. And if we put this into some water, we'll be able to prime it pretty easily. And you can hear it start priming right away. And you can see that water stream coming out normally. And this is what the sensor and motor sound like when it's adequately primed and we have the correct cover tightness. Notice that we have a very constant impeller frequency with no hitches or anything of the impeller getting caught on the sensor cover. Next, I will show what it looks like to over loosen the cover. As you can see now, this cover is not moving much, and we do have some compression on the cover gasket. Now it is easy to over loosen. Usually you only need to take about a cover or about a quarter turn off of these screws. But as you can hear, when you loosen this up more than just a quarter turn, is that you start to kind of lose that nice constant noise, and you're also able to see gaps here. And if we have gaps in the gasket, we're not going to get great water sample because the water will no longer just be coming from the ejection port, it's going to be coming from the entire gasket itself. So as you can see, our cover is pretty loose here, and you can move it around. We don't want to install it like that because we're not going to be able to get good flow from the sensor, and I'll show you why. As we can prime our sensor here, but when you pull it out, notice how there's water coming out from all sides of the sensor. That's not going to give us great representative flow, and we're not going to get great measurements when it's looking like that. So what we're going to do is just tighten up this cover until that gasket's compressed again. And you can always do this with the sensor powered, and I actually recommend that you do it that way. That way you know when you've over tightened this and the impeller is no longer spinning. So we're going to tighten it up just a little bit here. And now our gasket's compressed. We'll do a check here on our water flow. And we have water only coming from the ejection port. And then just to make sure that we've done this correctly, so I'm going to go ahead and power cycle the sensor. So we're going to turn off power to it. And then we're going to let it go through that startup sequence again. And we want to make sure that that motor starts without being bound at all. And it's going to oscillate direction 3 times. So now I'm feeling fairly confident that if I install this in the system, when you supply power to your sensor, it's going to start up and start running normally. This is a good thing to do at the beginning of any startup and as part of your function test that we went over in another video. So I'll go ahead and take power off, and you have a sensor that's ready to be installed into your system. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, reach out to us at tech@halogensys.com.